Alright guys, so I'm going to be showing you how I created this image in Photoshop. So this is how we started. And I went out on I-95 being ignorant, and I took these images with my tripod. So these are two separate pictures I took. And I'm going to give you a breakdown of how I created that final image. So first, I'm going to take this where it says background. I'm going to drag and drop it to add it to the other picture. And I already have a layer of this, but I'm just going to show you the layers I have to show you my process. So the first thing I did was I changed some of the exposure. You know, I'm just trying to match the colors so the pictures look right when I combine them. Curves layer. So for those who do not know what curves are in Photoshop, this is how you can create. So circle right here, and curves. And what curves allows you to do is there's this first option that says RGB. There's one for red, green, and blue. And so you can make a click on that line, and you can drag it up or down. I'll make a new one. So if I drag it down, the image gets darker. Up, it gets brighter. There's an X and a Y axis for darks and shadows, whites and highlights. Whites and highlights are the top and the far right, while darks and shadows are the left and at the bottom. And that is the same case, so RGB changes reds, blues, and greens all at the same time. Or you can change them individually. I can change the reds, I can make the darker areas have more reds, or lower and they have less reds. So I would just recommend playing around with your curves layers, because once you master curves, you can really master the whole color grading technique for any image. So my first layer, I moved everything individually. I created another curves layer, making it a little bit darker. I only changed the RGB on that one. Another curves layer, I increased some blues and greens in the highlights. Just still trying to get that color to match. I'll turn that layer off. Then after that, bam, I do that. So this white box here, that's called a layer mask. And so let me make a copy for you. You can hold Control and J or Command J if you have a Mac to make a copy of something. And I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So I'll delete my layer mask. So how do you make one? This button right here, this box with the circle, you just click on it and it makes this little white box here. And what I do is, because I'm not using this as a primary image, this is my primary image. Only thing I'm taking from this is myself, the sky, and I'm going to try to blur out the trees a little bit more because they're more focused on the original image. So when you click on this, on the white box, hold Alt and press I. Wait a second. If it doesn't work, you just switch to a different tab. Come back. Alt and I. It's not working. I'm gonna delete my layer mask. And so what you can do instead is hold Alt. You know what I did? I messed up. When you make your layer mask, it's not Alt. So let's go back, let me delete that. So start. Add layer mask right here. White box, right? Hold Control, press I. Now it becomes a black box. White shows you everything. Black hides everything. So over here on our toolbar, we're gonna grab the paintbrush with opacity at 100, flow at 100. The opacity and flow is how heavy and how layering the paintbrush is. So at 100, it's gonna be super solid. Everything will stand out. And make sure you have white on your foreground color, so that way you're gonna reveal what you've hidden. So I'm supposed to be right here. I'm gonna paint white here. And here I am. And I'm just gonna paint the car where the car is, and up here, just to make sure that's how it should be. Then I also said I'm gonna paint in some of these trees in the sky, just trying to give it that effect still, as if the aperture wasn't super high for the background. You can zoom in, get some of these other areas, and try not to do it in one click, because if you just click and hold it and you mess up and you try to undo it, it'll undo everything you did. So just take your time, just click to dab it, just painting, getting out some of these details. This is one of the reasons I said just take your time, because this is a car here. And to switch from white to black to hide again, press the X button. You'll see right here, black's in the front, now white, just X. And use white again. Just painting in the areas I know I can manage. So that's how you composite. That's part one. Composite the image. And this together, I have my lines, and my light painting, and I have me in one picture. So what comes after that is hold Control, Shift, Alt, and press E. All the layers that were visible, that you created, are now in one picture. So everything I just did is one image now, it's not in layers. And I right click on it and convert to smart object. Convert it to a smart object, guys. It's going to save you some time. What we're about to do, don't forget that step. Go to filter, camera raw filter. What camera raw filter is, it's just like Adobe Lightroom. If you ever use Adobe Lightroom, then you know what it's for. It's a very useful tool. It looks just like it. It allows you to color correct and increase your highlights and brightnesses. So what I did, added a little yellows, brighten it up a little bit. It's kind of dark. Increase my highlights. I want that light to be super bright in the front. Some whites. Brought up some of the shadows a little bit, and some of the blacks. I don't like to mess with my sharpening too much, because I shot with my ISO at 100, so the image naturally is pretty crisp. And this is the tone curve, just like the curves adjustment layer. I don't really mess with these in the filter, only because I like to do it individually as layers in case something goes wrong or I want to go back and change it. And you have all your colors. You can modify and edit your colors, how saturated they are. Increase the reds a little bit. Just a little more saturated. Then what a lot of people don't do, that I like to do, is calibrate. what calibration will do is help you it helps with your primary colors. The green primary, red primary, and the blue primary. And you can kind of maneuver how saturated they are. And like just their hue overall. So I like to kind of make my blues more of a teal, my reds a little more of an orange, just to get that cinematic effect. And I'll press OK, but I'm gonna go on top of the layer I already did. So that's something slight. This is how I actually edited when I did my camera raw filters, and I'll show you my settings and what I did for my actual post. So like I said, I increased my yellows, I made it a little bit more green, my highlights, my shadows, my whites, my blacks, and my vibrance. When you're working with colors, you rarely ever want to boost the saturation. It will give you that effect on some of these things that are blurry, and it'll give them a little halo-ish effect, and it'll make your image look ugly. You can see how dark that is right here, and it makes it not really blend as much. Instead of it looking more like it's thermal vision. And let's go through so you can see I don't mess with my curves as much. I increase my luminance by 3 you call it whatever. My aquas 35, greens -1. When I say -1, I'm pushing it more to the yellow side for my greens. Aquas, getting it more from that teal to that cyan blue. Saturation, my reds, I want these reds to really contrast. My yellows, I boost them up a little bit. Then hues, nothing. Lens correction, I don't really mess with that. Effects, I don't do. Calibrations, my favorite part. This will make your images a lot more cinematic, messing with the calibration. Just test it out, play with it. If you don't like it, the best part about making it a smart filter is that all your settings are saved and you can edit them. So if I double click on camera raw filter, I can go back and I can edit it again. If you don't make it a smart object, all your changes will be permanent, and you cannot go back and fix little tiny details one part at a time. You have to restart that whole process. So this layer right here, this is a clone stamp. I'll show you what I mean. I'm gonna zoom out. I'll turn it off. I'll make a new one. This piece of paper, click on it. Over here, clone stamp tool. Click on that guy. He's gonna help you fix some of these edges and stuff, because when you crop it, after you edit it, which I did, which I shouldn't have did, it's gonna show you all the places that didn't get edited because you cropped it. So, clone stamp, opacity 100, flow 100. Never use a hard brush for this kind of stuff. I always use a soft round brush. It makes the blend perfect. You can use your left or your right bracket key to make the circle bigger, and hold Alt. When you hold Alt and you pick a spot, that's the spot that's gonna sample. It's a clone stamp. It's gonna make a clone whatever spot you just took, and it's gonna radiate. So once I start, it's gonna look just like this part is on right here. Click and hold. I'm gonna paint that in. Hold Alt. Grab it again. Paint it. That part really not that serious. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna blend on its own. It's a round brush, a soft round brush. It blends it very nice. That's it. Then the picture looks good so far, but we're not quite done just yet. So one of my next favorite color grading techniques is selective color. I'm gonna turn this on so you can see what it is. It doesn't do that much right here. I'm gonna show you the importance of it. So even when it comes to color grading, you can use a mask. Look at what happens when I don't have a mask. See how this area gets affected? And turn it off, turn it on. Look at everything that gets affected. I'll turn my mask on. Now if these blues got brighter again, more cyan, I want them like that, but I wanted these blues in the street to be a little different. And that's how you change them. They give you the options: reds, yellow, green, cyans, blues, magentas. Don't worry about the whites, neutrals, and blacks here, guys. Don't mess with those. Use curves for that. I edited my blues. I increased the cyans and the yellows and only a little magenta. And I'll make a separate video on how to balance colors. This is more just so letting you get familiar with the techniques of what I use to edit my colors. Or you can just DM me or comment and I'll answer your questions. I added another one to select the color. Look at that. Very small details, just like these red lines. Turn it off, back on. Very, very minor. Click on it, I'll show you what I did. Reds, I decreased the cyan because when it comes to reds, RGB is the opposite of CMY. RGB, red, blue, green. CMY is cyan, magenta, and yellow. So remember those, write it down, they go hand in hand. If you want to increase your reds, R, opposite of R is C. So you need to decrease your cyans if you want more reds. And adding in a little magenta and a little yellow make it a little bit more orangey and bright. That's it for that. You can see, shouldn't have nothing else really done here. Cyan is nothing, blues nothing, magentas nothing. One layer at a time, very subtle changes, make your picture pop. Curves layer, important layer, it changed the game. Look at that, big difference. One thing I just taught you, RGB versus CMY. This right here is very blue. Very blue, very purplish. So, opposite of blue, RGB, CMY. I increased the yellows. How did I increase yellows when all it gives me is red, green, and blue? Well, red and green make yellow. I increased my greens to slightly. Little bump right here, nothing too major. I increased my reds a little bit more because it's more blue than it is red. And that gives it the cinematic feel by making it more of that orangey teal color. I didn't mess with the whites and the darks or the shadows or the highlights nor the blue. I don't need to mess with the blue. When you want to change it from blue, you don't necessarily have to decrease the blue versus mixing it with other colors like painting. Select the color. All I did, I added more to the light. Reds. How do you make it more red? RGB, CMY. Red, opposite of cyan. Make it more red, you decrease the cyan. That's it. 2 more layers. And this is the icing on the cake. So, this is how you do this. Bam, highlights. How did I make these highlights? Notice it has a mask. Not everything has a highlight. This layer is very, very crucial for me. It's been up in my game lately in my last couple of images. That's how you do it. The circle down here, your adjustment layers, click solid color. You'll bring it closer to the top. Now, we will not always use like this. There will be sometimes in portraits or just in different areas. It's very situational. For this, I will use something very close to white. Press OK. Now you're gonna be like, Darius, my picture is white. What did you do? Out. Where it says normal, these are all different blend modes. And this setup, this combo is vicious. I already really show you how to make your pictures and your portraits pop with this. I'm gonna make a portrait video as soon as you can see how real vicious this is. Make it overlay. And then double click with the left in this open space. This is gonna pop. You're wondering, what is this? What are you showing? What's this underlying layer? That's very important. That means these are the darks and the shadows. These are the whites. These are the highlights. So what does that mean? If I slide this from the left to the right, it's gonna ignore and it will not affect or apply the white overlay to the darkest areas. Slowly and gradually. So see how the areas that are darkest are no longer getting highlighted. And so you want to pull this over until it gets to a pretty good point to where you know these are the areas I do not want affected. I do not want to highlight these areas. Now, stop here. It looks bad. What can I do to make this smooth? I don't want it all blotchy. Go Alt, left click right after this line. Click and hold it. It'll separate it. As you drag it more, it'll blend it for you. Keep blending. You just want to get to a point to where it doesn't eliminate the parts that you still want to highlight. You may even bring this one back and press OK. Now, this is not good. Don't think this is good. We're just starting. It makes it a little bit better, but it's not good. So this layer mask again, I'm gonna click on it. Control I. All your hard work is gone. Wasted your time. It's like, go back to your paintbrush, right? Because black hides stuff, white shows us stuff. So right now we're hiding everything. We don't need it to be that highlighted. That's overkill. It's not subtle. It's not attractive. So this right here, black and white, you can press this or click X. That's how black to white. White is going to show what we did. White is going to show us our highlights. Up here, put opacity and flow. Use this. That's the truth. We're going to lower this to about 20%. And flow, maybe like 23, 25. Alright. And so what that does is that it's going to start to show when we paint on it the highlights. But it's not going to make it super bright as if this layer was not there. So if I got rid of it, if I disabled this, look at how harsh that lights up. So then and use white. You can slowly paint over the areas you want to highlight. And you don't have to layer it up. It's going to be worth it. Now look at this. Use your brackets, make your brush bigger. Paint the areas you want. And you can really be a little bit. You don't gotta be so precise with it, only because when we did this part, when we separated it from the underlying layer, it's not gonna affect the areas we don't want it to. So that's gonna make this part a little bit easier to brush through and to just kind of paint it. So going back, I brush, paint white, get these highlights here. Layering it up. You're gonna take your time. I'm rushing because I already did this. You're working on your picture and just don't make it up. It ain't It's gonna give us that contrast. So same thing. Adjust the bit. Solid color. This time we're not gonna go black. It's kind of the opposite of white, but we're not going to go there. We want a dark gray. Something down here. I'm not a fancy person. I don't got no set numbers to really tell you, but we gonna go for it. Okay. We're seeing because right now this is not our visual. This is not multiply. This first bracket right here is gonna darken everything. This next bracket is gonna lighten everything. These next ones are overlays. Multiply. Click on it. It's black. Yeah. We don't want that. So again, we're gonna do the opposite of what we did. Double click on it. This time we're gonna work on the darkest areas to make them even darker for contrast. So last time we eliminated the darks and the shadows. This time we're going to eliminate the whites and the highlights. So left click and hold, bring this over. See how we're taking out the whitest and the highlighted parts of the image first. Bring it down. And hold Alt. After this little line in the middle, we're going to separate it. That's cool. I may even bring this part over some. Click OK. This white box. Dang, I pressed so much. Don't double click that white box. My computer's slow now. It's a curse. Click the white box one time. Hold Control, press I. Same thing. Opacity, flow, keep it low. Use white, left, right. Paint on the dark spots. Paint on the dark areas of the picture. Areas you want to have contrast. Layer it up. Like this shadow right here, it should be dark. Nothing to contrast it with. So make your picture look flat. Pop. I may increase it a little bit in some of these. share it. This is really meant for anyone learning Photoshop, but I would say right now, mainly for photographers that want to work on editing their pictures or their edit game, because I've been editing for maybe about a year now, a little over a year. I've been on photography for about 8 months. I'm moving at an alright pace. I like to do better, but if I got some information to share, I'm gonna share it. Alright.